Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Secrets for an Inspirational Life. How are you all today? I hope that you are all well and peaceful. And I'm sending you lots of blessings and lots of love wherever you are. And I hope that we can see each other in better times, hopefully. Now, one of my main interests is healthy living and healthy eating. I have had a lot of allergies through my life, so I really have to watch the things that I eat, reading labels and, cooking things from scratch is the safest thing. And what is really, really important is it's the old adage that you are what you eat. I really, really believe that. And I also believe that good food is the key to health, because what we put inside of our bodies really does have a reflection on all spheres of our life, whether that be mental health or physical or emotional. So the natural way is the best way that I have found for me. And that's why I'm really pleased that I have a really, really great guest with me today, who is a weight loss and lifestyle coach, Anne Iarchy. Now, Anne is the author of the book, 5 Simple Steps to Realizing the Real You. She is also about to launch an online course that she was just telling me about. And Anne went from working in the corporate world to setting up her successful business as a weight loss and lifestyle coach. And she helps people gain confidence, energy, and self-esteem during that process. So I'm very happy to welcome Anne today. Hi, Anne.
Hi, Mimi. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you
Good.
for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Now, tell us a little bit about what you do, Anne, because I know there's a lot to it. And I know that your journey is a really interesting one personally, because it's your personal journey that, as always, I think with a lot of us, eventually leads you to sort of the vocation of your life.
Yep, definitely. So I help people with weight loss and healthy lifestyle. I'm a big believer that we can avoid lots of health issues, but also become the real person that deep down we know we can be if if we are confident with what we do. And one way to do it is to be at a healthy weight and live a healthy lifestyle. I developed a 5-step system that helps people achieve that, which is quite exciting. And it is a holistic way of looking at weight loss as opposed to just diet. So obviously, as you mentioned, you are what you eat is very, very true. What we put in our body has a massive influence on not just the weight, but on our energy, on our mood, on our mental health, and everything that goes with it. But there's also the question of, lots of people trying to eat well, but not succeeding. And then the question is, why is that? So mindset comes into it, habits comes into it, but then you also have obviously exercise, sleep and stress, where sleep and stress is a big, comes also from what you eat, but can also come from external reasons as well. So obviously at the moment, lots of people have financial issues and stresses. There's lots of uncertainty of what's going to happen with their jobs come, next month or the month after. That all has an impact on how people feel, what people do. It does lead to people comfort eating or comfort drinking. It's all related.
Yeah, I'd like you to go into that more detail, but what you're talking about, comfort eating and comfort drinking, I was talking to a neighbor of ours, and we gave him some wine because he did us a favor with our cabin, our log cabin. And he was like, no, it's okay, it's okay. So we took the wine, and I said, look, we got it as a gift. We don't drink, but you can have it. And he said, you don't drink? And I said, no. And he said, in all of this lockdown, there's only been 2 days that I haven't drank a bottle of wine a day.
There you go. Yeah.
And so it is a problem. It is a problem, especially now. And now, before we go into all that you do, Anne, you were in the corporate world before that.
Yeah.
How did you come about leaving that lifestyle into now helping others with, do you do fitness as well?
I do as well, yes.
Okay, so it's fitness and health and healthy eating.
Yeah.
How did that happen? What was that transformation?
So I've always been interested in the human body. I grew up as a daughter of a doctor, and my dad still thinks that I would have made a good doctor if I had gone in and done medicine, but somehow I ended up in IT, and I worked in the corporate world for about 15 years or more. I can't remember now, and I used to be an IT security director. I was traveling a lot for work. I was entertaining a lot of clients all the time. And I really struggled myself with leading a healthy lifestyle. I gained weight over the years. I have to admit, I am a Haribo addict, although I'm at the moment in remission.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I've never had Haribo.
Really? Oh my God.
No, what is that? I've seen it advertised. Is it like a jelly type?
Like pick and mix, yeah.
Okay.
So that kind of kept me going with energy, because obviously, with lots of traveling, you have to get up early in the morning, you go to bed late, you miss sleep because of flights, train journeys, getting to an appointment for 7:00 in the morning. So all that really, it didn't really help my own lifestyle. So I gained weight. I didn't know how to combine a healthy lifestyle with my busy life, and it affected my confidence and self-esteem totally. And I felt that I was too busy to be healthy. I had no idea how to do it. And when I did ask for help, I couldn't find anyone, even the personal trainers at the gym. It was all black and white. It was, or you do it or you don't do it, but there's nothing in the middle. And I thought, there must be a different way. It's impossible that, obviously, yes, I did change jobs, but at the time, my work was my reality. So there must be a way for people that were doing what I was doing to be healthy at the same time. It's just impossible otherwise. So I, always enjoyed healthy food. I enjoyed exercise, and I just didn't know how to combine it all. So on a fun afternoon out with work, or supposedly fun afternoon out with work, I had a fall. I tore the ligaments in the knee. And as I was doing the rehab, I looked for a course that I could combine with work. So I found a personal training course, which at the time combined some nutrition in it as well. Today it's a little bit different. Personal training courses have changed a lot since then. And 2009, the company I worked for got acquired by another company, and I just fell out of love with work. And I just thought, what am I going to do? So obviously the first thing you do is you're going to look for the same kind of job, that kind of the usual stuff you do.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't find anything that was exciting enough, I thought, you know what? I am a personal trainer. Let's see if what I think I will enjoy doing, I really enjoy doing. And so I went on New Year's Eve 2009, 2010. I sent an email to my boss and I said, Happy New Year, I'm off. And a month later, I set up my own business, which went, from being well-paid, stable job to something that I had no clue what I was getting into. But what I really realized by just doing the personal training course or the personal training to my clients was exercise is not enough. And so I added nutrition to the mix. And I realized that although we all kind of know what we should be eating and what we shouldn't be eating, the question is, why don't we do it? And so there's more than just diet and exercise. And there's
a psychological approach, isn't there, to the whole thing?
100%. Because, you know, take your neighbor, for instance. I'm sure he knows that drinking a bottle of wine every night is not healthy.
Yes, because it's the way that it's his life, of course, but, you know, it's the way that he looked at me in a guilty way.
Yeah.
I was shocked, not because, you know, look, he can do what he wants, but I think he didn't seem as though that's what he was doing, but it was his whole demeanor changed. And he then went on to say, funnily enough, now that you're saying this, he then went on to say to me, you know what, Mimi, he said, I'm finding it very difficult mentally.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, obviously I went into my therapy mode. I said, well, is that because of the lockdown or what is that? And he said, well, it's made me think about my life. And now I'm just eating rubbish all the time and drinking. So he said, I've had a couple of wobbles along the way now, and I'm finding it difficult to cope because his work now he was office based. He's no longer going to be in the office. They've told him he has to be at home. So it is, as you said, it's a mindset thing, and it's a whole holistic, also, as you said earlier, way to look at something. You can't just look at one part of it. It's a complete puzzle.
It is. It definitely is. And one of the things that most people do when they, you know, jump on a weight loss journey is they find a diet and they just run with it. But that's not enough. It's about looking at, you know, what worked before and why you're doing certain things, and what other things didn't work before and what needs to happen to make them work. If you just run with a diet, you're never going to succeed. It's going to work for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, until you go to a party or a wedding or a birthday or whatever it is, or on holidays, and then you're stuck. So
this is it's the stuck phase. That's what I wanted to ask you about, because I have another friend of mine and her daughter is trying to lose weight. So she went from 10 stone to 18 stone. And it was actually after having a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is she used those words, I'm stuck. She's been to all sorts of places, you know, like Slimming World, Weight Watchers, whatever it is out there. But she can't psychologically get over that point of saying, well, you know what? Stuff it, I don't care. I'm just going to keep eating and eating. Now, what is that point? Is that something far deeper, Anne, that needs to be triggered in a way and to be changed, as opposed to looking at something, well, I just want to lose 5 stone?
It's probably a mixture of both. So obviously the question really is why do you want to lose the weight? That's the first thing. Finding your why is so important. Because that's going to be the thing that's going to motivate you when motivation goes. Because we all know that motivation is finite. None of us have, you know, an unlimited motivation. So it's about finding the why. Why is it so important for you to want to lose that weight? How is it going to change your life? How, you know, what will you be able to do that you can't do right now? And it's when you ask yourself those questions that then you kind of get to something that touches you enough to push you to make those changes. And then it's about looking at, okay, what am I currently doing? What habits are serving me and what habits are not serving me? And those that serve, keep doing them. Those that don't serve you and don't help you achieve your goal, it's about, okay, why am I doing those and what can I replace them with?
Right. So it's a whole different shift in your thinking.
Yeah.
It's for it to be able to have lasting results,
That's
as
right.
opposed to a quick fix. Let's just drink shakes for 3 weeks and we'll lose the weight, but that's not really changing our habits and not really, I suppose, teaching us to have a better lifestyle and a better diet.
That's right. But even when you follow a diet, which is, let's say, a little bit healthier than shakes, unless you solve the issues that you're having with your lifestyle, you're only going to do and follow that diet for a certain amount of time until, something happens, you go out with your friends or something, and you blow it, as we, as most people say. So it's about learning, how to behave when you're out with your friends without feeling guilty about saying, actually, no, I had a glass of wine, thank you, I don't want the second glass of wine. But finding that strength to be able to say those kind of stuff is quite often difficult. And if you find your why and you know why you want to achieve the goal you want to achieve, it's so much easier. You've got this confidence in yourself that, you're happy to stand against what you normally would be doing. Because I saw for myself, I used to go to a restaurant and I used to look at the dessert menu before I even ordered anything else. Because that kind of, depending on what the dessert was, I decided if I was going to have a starter or not have a starter. And sometimes, by the way, I still had a starter, even though I fancied dessert if the starters were nice. But so I had to change the way I was doing. I had to change the way I was behaving. And I'm just like, well, I don't really need dessert. So let's enjoy a nice meal. And if at the end of it, I'm still hungry, I might look at the dessert menu and maybe I'll just have a spoonful from one of my friends that I'm out with. But when you go on a weight loss journey, you need to know that you're going to become a different person. You're not going to be able to achieve your goal if you're going to use the same habits that you have used so far. So you are going to become a different person, and that's quite scary for many people. Change is scary
because a lot of people use food and drink, and there's lots of other things, as emotional crutches.
Yeah.
So it's in a way, to take that away from them is really like taking a part of themselves. So it's a huge journey, isn't it, within ourselves?
And it's about having that guidance and support along your journey that will help you find some other ways to deal with the emotional issues that you currently use to food and drink to soothe them. So your emotional issues might not go away straight away, but it's finding new techniques on how to deal with them that is not food or booze related. Yeah.
And that's where you come in.
Yeah.
Okay. So if someone was to come to you today and said, I want to eat healthily, I want to feel good, I want to lose weight, I want to look good, what would be the process that you would go through with that client?
So the first thing is to uncover the why of the person. Then look at what they're currently doing. So when someone comes to me, I don't give people the diet. I just look at what they do for about a week. And then I start asking questions. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? How is that helping you? What could you do instead of? And it's for that person, you know, obviously I can give suggestions, but it's for the client themselves to find their way to the new them. Because it's not up
Right.
to me
Yeah.
to say, this is how you sort it out. Because if that doesn't suit their life, or you know, they hate it, it's not going to work. So let's just say exercise. I had a client who came to me and said, you know, I want to lose weight. And at the time, our programs were, well, you come to me for 12 weeks, you come and exercise with me twice a week, and we'll work on your nutrition and habits at the same time as well. And I could see after 3-4 weeks that she hated the exercise that we were doing together. And I said to her, you know, yes, it will work, but I can see you not enjoying it. So if I were to ask you what type of exercise you enjoy doing, what would it be? And she said, you know, I've always wanted to go ballroom dancing. And I'm like, okay, well then let's find a course where you can go ballroom dancing, but promise me, I'll give you your money back for the exercise part, but promise me you're going to do 2-3 times a week of your ballroom dancing. And she's been dancing since. She's loving it.
Has she? Oh.
Yeah. And you know, it doesn't matter what you enjoy doing. It's about the consistency and finding something that works for you.
Yes, because unless you love what you do, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. Totally.
Even if it's difficult, you know, even if you know that, for example, in this case, you're going to lose 3 stone, you're not going to want to do it. It's just not going to become part of a, you know, healthier lifestyle. Now you deal, and also with nutrition as well. So what do you do?
So I look at what people currently do.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask them to fill in a food diary, and I am very, very non-judgmental. So, you know, if it is McDonald's on the food diary, it is McDonald's on the food diary. If it is, you know, Pizza Hut or chocolate. I mean, I had one client who came up with her food diary and she had 23 bars of chocolate in a day. You know, happens. And then I start asking, okay, you know, what happened for you to have to go to McDonald's, for instance? And my client said, look, I got stuck at work. It was 9 o'clock in the evening. Most of the other places were already closed by the time I got close to home. So I popped by McDonald's and I had a McDonald's because my fridge was empty. There was nothing ready. So I needed to eat something quick and I was starving. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. You know, without, as I said, without judging or anything. So what we put in place was a way for that client to batch cook and always, always, always have at least 2-3 different meals in the freezer. Ready, you know, home cooked, ready-made meals in the freezer for those days where she's stuck at work, because that kind of happened to her every few weeks, if not more. And just take something out of the freezer, pop it in the microwave, and boom, she had a ready-made, homemade cooked, you know, meal that was healthy as opposed to McDonald's. So the other person with her 23 bars of chocolates, I asked her, what happened? She said, oh, I was really angry. I was stressed out. And I had 1 bar, and then I straight away had another one and another one, because I just didn't do anything for me. And I just kept on eating. And then I felt so bad afterwards that I had another one. And eventually I felt totally sick. And I haven't touched any chocolate for the past 2 weeks. But I needed that right there and then. And I say, okay, well, had you had 1 bar of chocolate and then waited 20 minutes? Do you think that would have made a difference? She said, yeah, but I just couldn't. I said, fine. So how about when you feel that anger and that stress happening, how about you go for a walk? 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Get away from whatever you do and get out of the house and go for a 5-minute walk. Could you do that? And she was like, yeah, I probably could. And that kind of made that little difference, you know, from her eating those bars of chocolate to suddenly breaking that habit that she had and just doing something totally different. Because by the time she came back, that anger and stress was already gone.
It's a change in thought patterns, isn't it?
Totally. And so everyone's different, and it's about finding what works for them.
What's one of the most difficult things, Anne, for people when they're losing weight or want to keep fit or want to change their life? What do they find mostly difficult?
One of the things really is, I'd say, facing people around you and around them. So some people will be very supportive. Some others will be totally not. And so some people will try and sabotage. And it's about standing up to your friends or colleagues or anything else, and be certain enough about what you're trying to achieve. I think that's one of the hardest things is, you know, you go out, you decide to make a change and you go out on an evening out with your friends and they're expecting you to be the person they've known you for a long time. Suddenly you're changing and people don't like change. So they're like, oh, come on, you know, one extra glass of wine won't make the difference. Or come on, look, that dessert, you always used to order that dessert. Why don't you now? You know, that temptation. And then you might have the one friend who said, no, don't bother her. You know, she's trying something else. It is hard, actually. Becoming that new person is really, really hard.
It's not easy because it's peer pressure, isn't it? And it's a comparison always of what someone else is doing. And sometimes when we change, it actually gives other people a nudge in some sort of direction that maybe, you know, they could also do something, but for whatever reason, it's not their time to do it. So it is a lot of pressure and difficulty at times to have that stamina of courage.
Yeah. Now, and when you think of, you know, initially they don't have any confidence or self-esteem because of their weight, it makes it even harder.
Yes, to stand up for themselves in a way.
Yeah.
Now, what about people that start and then can't keep up the regime in a way? What is one of the most difficult things is that stops people, apart from the peer pressure? What is it? Is it a mindset thing? Is it, I have to say, is it a fear thing that stops people actually continuing with, say, a 6-week or an 8-week plan?
There's probably some bit of fear in it as well. But I think there is also the thinking that, and you know, that comes from a lot of media and social media, that, and the impatience of people, the fact that, you know, we want results now, we want to look like a certain person, and you know, we don't have the patience to keep going. And if we think about it, you know, we all have busy lives. We all are busy between work, between family. Some have kids, some are caring for their parents. We have to stay realistic. And I think that's the one thing that most people are missing, is the fact that we're trying to change, but we need to make it real and we need to make it fit within our lives. And if that means that your 5 stone you want to lose will take 2 years as opposed to 1 year, who cares? Who cares? Just keep going. Just keep going.
I suppose to give yourself the chance to not beat yourself up
Yeah.
and to make yourself feel guilty, because I've seen that with a lot of people, that if they're not achieving something in the time they've given themselves, myself included, I have to say, we can be very harsh on ourselves, can't we?
Definitely can. Self-talk is one of those things that is massive when it comes to weight loss. You know, yeah, you're stupid, you shouldn't have done that, I can't do it, I'm a failure. There's just so much when it comes to self-talk. I think when it comes to weight loss, even more than anything else, we talk to ourselves all the time, and it's about changing that language. I mean, I sometimes, I have a new client who started working with me late last week. And, we looked at her food diary, and I said, how do you feel about it? And she said, oh, I'm scoring myself 5 out of 10. And I'm like, and why is that? Because in my opinion, 5 out of 10 is quite bad. She said, well, I had that sandwich that I shouldn't have had. I should have had something else. I'm like, okay, but you changed your breakfast already to something a little bit healthier. You made sure you had your vegetables in the evening, which, the last few weeks from what you told me, you never had. So does that one sandwich make you really a 5 out of 10? And then she's like, oh, well, maybe not, actually. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was. So we are our worst enemy when we talk to ourselves. And that's one of the things as well that we need to realize, as how do we talk to ourselves? And will we talk like that to someone else?
Yes.
The answer is probably no.
It's very true. I mean, there's no one really more critical to us than our own voice.
Yeah.
But I hear this a lot. Friends of mine, clients, they use the word bad and good a lot.
Ooh.
And they say to me, I can't eat this, Mimi, because then I'm bad. And I say to them, why are you bad? It doesn't make sense. Well, I'm bad, I've got to be good. And they actually judge themselves on food.
Yep.
So this isn't, it must be very, very difficult if you're constantly judging who you are as a person and as a character and your success by what you eat, because that's not the way to go, is it, Anne?
No, it's not. I mean, one of the things that I read about, and I have no idea who came up with it, is, you are not fat, you have fat. And that makes a massive difference if you can accept the fact that you yourself are not fat, but you have fat. And having fat makes that, that difference, in the sense that, okay, well, let's tackle that, as opposed to tackling yourself as such.
Now, fat, sometimes I know it's a big deal for people, fat, thin, I don't know, round, square, triangle. And, everyone's perception of weight is different.
Yeah.
I can never tell when people have lost weight or gained weight. I don't know what that is about me. I can never tell because it doesn't interest me. I'll be frank with you. It doesn't interest me what somebody looks like. It's what they are as a person. But I know it matters to people. Now, the media portrays that only people that are thin, and I'm talking about unhealthily thin,
Yeah.
is attractive, is successful. It's the best way, Everybody else is, low, they're not successful, they're an embarrassment. That is a lot of pressure on people. How do you get over that? How do you help your clients to get over that?
Well, it's the first thing is, I don't like comparisons, but if you look at one thing I always say is, look at actresses, singers, or whoever is in the media. The way they look is part of their job. Okay, it's been made as being part of their job. So obviously they are going to invest time and money way more than anyone else to look the way that they've been expected to look like. So take an actress or an actor in a movie, they need to look a certain way to play the part that they're playing. So they're going to exercise the way they need to. They're going to have, quite a lot of them have, cooks that cook for them, so they don't have to take care of that. They don't have, their job is looking good, in the sense that, looking whatever way they've been made to be looked. When you have a job where you go into the office, or at the moment working from home, when you have kids, when at the moment you're homeschooling, when you have a social life and all the other bits and pieces, weight loss is just a small part of it. It's not your main priority, like it is for people in on TV or in the movies. So look at it differently. How much time do you have to invest in, looking after yourself? They might spend 3 hours a day. Do you have 3 hours a day as a normal person? The answer is probably no. So don't expect the same results. And I'm not saying you can never achieve the results. You maybe can, but it will take you much, much, much longer. So if you have an actress who just gave birth, and then, 6 weeks later, you see her again, the way she was before giving birth, and even maybe slimmer, she's been putting all her time into looking that way. No one, as a normal person, and I'm talking about a normal person, not that they're not normal, but, as a working parent, has that amount of time and money to invest in themselves. So be realistic.
Yes, be realistic into what is your capability as a person. Yep. And because everyone's metabolism is different, everyone's makeup is different, we're all different, and one person can eat that, another person can't. So it's important to have people like you that are there to guide, somebody on that journey that is maybe a little lost in what is right and what is wrong.
And if you tell me that you only have, 3 times a week, half an hour to look after yourself, then be realistic of what you can achieve. And that's perfectly fine, by the way. We could work together and try and find, ways to increase that time, obviously, because 3 times half an hour to do everything is not enough. But at the same time, your progress will be different than someone who has an hour every day.
So it's not comparable, is it?
You can't. And that's where a lot of people go wrong as well, is just to compare themselves with, the neighbor or the person across the road or things like that. Definitely.
People need to start with themselves and begin that journey, because it is a journey. It's not just about healthy living and well-being and fitness and losing weight. It is really, it's a way of life, isn't it?
It is a way of life. And the interesting thing with it is, you say it's a journey, and it's so much of a journey. So as I said at the beginning, I'm a Haribo addict, and I thrive on, when I say I thrive, I shouldn't say thrive. I used to thrive on sugar. I used to exist on sugar. And it took me a long time, even after, I was helping my clients with what I do now. I still had that attraction to sugar, because I felt awful on sugar, but at the same time, I had this obsession about sugar and what it did for me. And it took me a long time to be able to get to a point where I said, you know what? I don't really need all that in my life anymore. And that's, and that's where everyone is on their own journey and is ready when they are ready. But start with what you can do, and build up on that, because it's all a building block of, once you mastered something and you feel comfortable, you then will be able to pick up something else that you weren't confident to, or that was scary to do before. Like for me, cutting out sugar of my life was the scariest thing I could ever do. I had to be ready for it. And if I hadn't done all the steps previously, I would never have been able to do it.
And you've got to want to do it. This is the thing.
Yes, exactly. And at that point, I realized that every time I had sugar, I was sleeping badly at night. I felt I had headaches. My tummy was upset. And all these three things, which I had always before as well. But at that moment in time, I knew, is it really worth it? And by that time, I had realized, and that, by the way, it was only last year, April time, I realized that actually it's not worth struggling with it. And the same with alcohol now. If I have one glass, I might still get away with it in the evening. But if I have more than a glass in the evening, I don't sleep at night. And then obviously the next day I feel grumpy and tired. So it's just not worth it.
It's actually an education, isn't it, Anne?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say, well, they should know better, and they should, and we should, and we should, and we should. But we can't unless somebody teaches us and shows us. This is the thing. I think it's a lack of knowledge in a lot of cases that, look, for example, with you, maybe you're more disciplined than some people, but if you have sugar and you have alcohol and you have this and Haribo's and this, it's a quick fix to feel good in that moment, but afterwards you feel pretty crap. If you don't have it, you feel good. But you've got to know the difference, I suppose. You have to see both ends of the scale.
Yeah. And it's about asking the questions about, how does it make you feel?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you've written a book, Anne. And it's 5 simple steps to releasing the real you.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that book.
So I wanted to be able to, share my thinking around weight loss in a bigger way and to more people. So a book was obviously the way to go. The book is divided in 3 parts. The first part is all about the problem with weight loss, so what's happening today. Mm-hmm. The second part is finding your why. And the third part goes through mindset, habits, nutrition, exercise, and sleep and stress. And throughout the book, there are loads of questions that make you think. And those questions will challenge you to think about what you do, as opposed to just following a blueprint that someone else has written for you. And it will help you uncover lots of things that you are currently doing, why you're doing them, and how you can change them.
And the book is already available, isn't it?
It came out a day after the UK went into lockdown.
Oh my goodness, the right time as well.
Yes and no, because I think at that time, I think for many of us, me included, by the way, it was quite of a shocking and stressful time about, what's happening, how am I going to cope? And people weren't really thinking about themselves, their health, and other things. However, as we're getting, out of lockdown, I think now is the time to really review what you've been doing before and seeing how am I going to move forward. For all of us, things are going to change. As you said, some people will continue and work from home and never go back to the office. Some people will combine a bit of office work and more homework. Some people might suddenly, have more time on their hands because they're not commuting. Now is the time to really look at what did you like before lockdown, what did you not like before lockdown, and how are you planning to change those? It's an opportunity. It really is an opportunity to make some changes.
it's a huge opportunity. And I think that each one of us in our own life has to really, as you said, think about this very, very deeply, because there is a reason, a profound reason on many levels that this has happened, to the world as we see it. So, and what is your future vision? What are your goals?
My goal is to do whatever I do now in a much bigger way. I would love to be working with people all over the world and just inspire them to look after themselves. I'm a big believer that when you are looking after yourself and be at your optimal health, you're not just true to yourself, but you also have that ripple effect that affects everything and everyone around you as well. And that's kind of, something I would love to spread the word about. And one of the things that, lockdown has brought is that I need to work much more online. And so my online course is coming out in July. And for me, it's about spreading the word and helping people online wherever they are, really.
And what's the course about?
So the course will be based on my book. And we are going to work on uncovering and unraveling what doesn't work, what works, and then moving forward on, okay, so I know what works, so I'm going to build up on that. I know what doesn't work, so let's see how I can make it work, and build a plan based on the 5 steps when it comes to mindset, habits, nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress, and make it work for each and every one on the course.
And is there a name for the course yet?
Beat the Eat.
What was that?
Beat the Eat.
Meet the Eat.
Beat from beating.
Oh, beat the Eat.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Are you strict?
No, not from beating, like hitting someone.
Oh dear. Oh, that made me laugh. No, I mean, are you strict as in as a coach?
I am and I am not.
Some coaches are really strict. I've met some really strict people, and then others are not so strict at all.
So I am very I'm demanding without being felt as being strict. So I will always ask questions, but at the same time, coming from where I'm coming from my own experience, I understand that you need to be understanding to what's happening. So not hitting people about, oh, you've done really badly or whatever, but just finding out how could you do it differently next time?
Which is, a very free way of thinking and works with that person individually, as opposed to being harsh, because harshness usually doesn't get the right results, does it?
No, I tried with myself, it doesn't work. So
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Being gentle and loving, I think, has far more better results in the long run. And it's, what we love to do is what we keep doing throughout our life. Now, Anne, where can people get hold of you? What, your social media, your website?
So I am on social media, obviously. I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter, all under my own name. My website is iarchy.com, so easy as well. And that's about it, really.
And people can get hold of you. They're free to message you or whatever, wherever they are, to make an appointment or to talk with you or whatever.
I always talk to anyone I potentially will work with, because I want to make sure that we are on the same wavelength.
And that you're a good fit together, I suppose. It matters, doesn't it? Because you can be the best therapist or the best client, but the two in synergy have to be able to work together.
100%.
Now, I always ask, finally, my guests, and If they were to give some inspirational advice to the listeners, what would it be that's helped them in their life and along their path?
Be true to yourself, find your values and live by them, and just keep going, never give up. Life will put some spanners in the wheel or other things. Just keep going. If you believe in what you are doing, just keep going.
Don't give up.
No, never.
Don't give up. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anne, for joining me today. It's really, it's been an eye-opener for a lot of things. And I'm very grateful for you coming on today. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me.
And come again and let us know how your course is doing and your book and everything else. I wish you all the very best with that.
Thank you very much.
All right then. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Iarchy giving us lots of handy tips on healthier living and healthier lifestyle, and how, as always, it all begins with us and changing our mindset to achieve the goals that we are striving for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you can join me and look forward to your company on the next episode. Until then, take care and lots of love.
Thank you for listening to Secrets for an Inspirational Life, brought to you by your host, Mimi Novic. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast and see you in the next episode. For more information about Mimi Novic and her books, music, and inspirational work, take a look at her website, www.miminovic.co.uk.